Welcome to this video on the Workshop activity. Workshop is a peer review tool where learners submit some work and are also asked to review submissions by other learners. There are many benefits to enabling peer review. Learners receive a range of feedback and different opinions and learn through the experience of reviewing others' work on the same task. Let's imagine that my course is about risk management and I want learners to practice doing a risk assessment and review each other's work. I'll turn editing on and add a workshop activity to my course. Workshop is turned off by default in TotalLearn, so if you don't see it in this list on your system, ask your site administrator to enable it for you. I'll give the workshop a name and a description. Grading for workshop has a few elements. A learner's grade is split between the grade for their submission and a grade for their reviewing skills. This encourages all users to provide a fair and constructive review. You decide what grade should be considered a pass for each element. The final grade for a submission is based on a combination of the grades given by different reviewers and can be adjusted or even overridden by a trainer. In this section, you're setting out the general rules. I'll leave these set as the defaults and add my pass marks. Under Submission Settings, I'll provide instructions for learners on their submission. I'll say learners can upload one file and only allow Word documents. Because the same learners will also be assessing this activity, I also need to provide some assessment instructions. Later in the process, you can provide more detailed assessment criteria, so this is a general introduction to the assessment task. You can also allow learners to assess their own work, encouraging them to have a fresh look at their assignment. If you'd like reviewers to be able to provide written commentary and upload files as part of the reviewing process, you can enable that in this section. You can also add a conclusion, which is shown to learners at the end of the activity once all marking has taken place. It can be a good idea to upload examples for use by reviewers. You might include a poor, good and excellent assignment, for example. You can also decide whether reviewers must view these files, and whether they can view them before making their own submission. Under Availability, you can set deadlines for assignments to be submitted and reviewed. I'll set a deadline for submissions and tell the system to automatically move to the reviewing phase after this deadline. Finally, I'll set completion based on receiving a grade. On saving the activity, I can now see the tasks and workflow required. Workshop works in phases. As the editor, you move the activity through the phases or tell the system when to do so automatically. You can see here we're currently in the setup phase. I've already completed the top two actions, which are shown with a green tick, so I'll choose the next task in the list to edit assessment form. Assessment is made based on aspects, which are essentially criteria to review against. You can add as many aspects as you need. For each aspect, you add a description which is shown to reviewers. You can also decide whether the reviewer should give a grade based on points or a scale, set a maximum grade to choose from, and set the relative weighting of this aspect. I'll quickly add a second aspect for my reviewers. To see how your form will appear to learners during their review, select Save and Preview. I chose a points-based grade and set a maximum of 10 points per aspect, so my reviewers can give a grade out of 10 here and provide comments. I'll return to my form and save and close. My next task is to prepare example submissions, which I can do here. I'll quickly enter the details of my example and save it. I can now see how this example submission will appear to my reviewers. I can also assess this example to show how it could be marked. Let's assume I've done that. I'll return to my setup and can see the only outstanding task is to move on to the next phase, which will open the activity up for submissions. I'll do that now. I'm now in the second phase, where there are a further series of activities to complete. I'll choose to set up scheduled allocation. Scheduled allocation randomly allocates each learner some submissions to review at the end of the submission period. This is the most automated way of allocating marking. Alternative options are to randomly allocate at any time or complete a manual allocation, which can only be done once submissions have been made. I'll choose to enable scheduled allocation. I'll return to the phase view. I've now set up my activity, provided guidance on how to submit and review, and asked the system to automatically assign reviewers after the submission deadline. There's no further action needed from me until my learners have completed their submissions, and that's the subject of another video. So that's setting up a workshop activity in Totara Learn. How might you use workshops in your courses?